Just a quick video to let you know here is part two of the Mike P. Funk Strong interview. He's a good buddy of mine, and we had many misadventures in Los Angeles. So here is part two coming at ya.
Oh,
Whoa!
woo!
We're out of the darkness now and into the light.
Out of the heart of darkness, and I got my blue blockers on.
You got your blue blockers, and
So
we're going into extended. We're going into extended period here because I've got a quiet house right now, and we might as well get this. That we might have to chop this up into two different segments.
yeah,
But
for sure, dude. Yeah, I'm here, baby.
all right. So now that we've established that and we've talked about, the shock house and all that, but man, talk about like, working in the pawn business and, seeing people that, we were partying and stuff. And everybody, we kind of kept it in a light-hearted manner. Everybody still, we'd show up for work. We weren't robbing and stealing from people and stuff like that. But we would see people every day coming in the pawn shop who were in a bad way, physically, mentally, all of that. Can you speak on that?
Sure. So most people were normal people, but there's a lot of people. So, hey, you had this cross section of society, and all right. Hey, how about this? Sonny Landham. What a character he was. I mean, here's a Hollywood kind of character actor, giant Indian dude who looked like Elvis. We always had an Elvis. We had a hold on, man, a Sonny man. Ernie, give him a freaking jewelry, man. I'll break your legs. It's like that was the joke, but. Yeah, and now Sonny was, read about Sonny Landham. He was kind of a wild dude, but
yeah,
there were people who didn't quite, whatever they were on hard times. There was a guy I remember came in one day. I don't know if you were there, and he flipped out on Ernie. All right, and he flipped out because Ernie didn't want to give him like $30 for his circular saw. Ernie's like, I can't even sell this thing for $30, but I'll give you 20. And if the guy started losing his mind, and Eugene sat up in the up in the mezzanine, and Eugene, kind of leaned over and told the guy, "You don't want to go there," because he was starting to get loud. And Eugene had the convincer, you know what I mean? He was, but there was. I'm trying to think of and again, most people were normal. Like, hey, you got to pay the electric bill. I need $100. But there was man, like I said, I worked at two shops, and yeah, there were like people that just they had floated too far. You know what I mean? They were out there on the edges. Again, I don't want to say too much because, and again, there were a lot of good times there, and good people. But yeah, dude, it's a slice of life, bro.
Yeah. You learn a lot about life, and even some of the guys that would come in that would be driving a Porsche, and gold chains, and expensive clothing, right? And would come in with some like sculpture or something, and be like, "I need $1,000." And they were. You could tell these were people that had a lot of money. And obviously, but somehow needed cash. Maybe it was for inhalants, or maybe they had maybe they owed somebody some money or whatever. And they would bring in things that weren't normal pawn shop style things.
That you mentioned a sculpture. So the Remington is the famous sculptor. And they had, I don't know if it was like the Pony Express. There were a couple of different ones, but it was a big bronze sculpture about this big on top of one of the cases out in the display floor. And they do that. Listen, man, that was a cool item. They wanted a lot of money for that. It was in like the $20,000 range. And
wow.
So I don't know what the story was, how they ended up with that. There was a lot of really cool stuff that came in. Do you remember the guy that came in with all the animal heads?
Yeah.
Rudy found out he couldn't sell those and was pissed, right? And then he realized, and we were like, dude, just hang them up around. It looks awesome. And
Yeah.
those were there. They had a bear, like a brown bear, that they ended up putting a clock that said Brothers Collateral. And he
Yeah.
was like, the bear was holding the clock. It was the coolest. And a giant moose head the size of a Volkswagen hanging over the front door. It was cool as anything, man. So
Yeah.
there was all kinds of cool stuff like that. And and by the way, before I forget, the television show Monk, was that quirky detective guy.
Yeah.
They filmed an episode at the Brothers, and it's called Mr. Monk Goes to the Bank. Dude, funny story. So I come home this is like 10, 15 years ago. I come home from work one Friday night or something, and I'm like beat, but I got some pizza or whatever, and I'm having a couple beers. I'm just going to chill. I think I had to work the next day. I fall asleep. I got the TV on. I wake up, and I'm looking at I got a big screen TV across from me, and I'm in the pawn shop. And I'm like, wait a minute, what? Like, I'm in a dream. I'm in a half sleep. The show was on. It was like a marathon. And there they are in the pawn because I can see all this stuff. And it's not Rudy or Ernie. It's a couple actors. And then the guy Monk, and he's in there looking for whatever, jewelry or something. And I'm like, it was like this, like, what is happening for like about 5 seconds, a moment, but it seemed like an eternity. And then I realized, I'm watching Monk, and he's at the pawn shop. And of course, now thanks to the internet, we can look anything up. So I looked it up, and I ended up going out and buying the DVD season from that year, just so I'd have a record of. It was like season 5, and I was like, hey, $20, I bought the collection. So now I can remember that and dude, hilarious, dude. I mean, like, what are the chances you wake up in that app?
I'll tell you a funny story is going out there with my future wife before we got married.
Yeah.
And I said, watch, and I took her in there to see, the pawn shop. And I walked in, and I pretended like it was a typical day where I was coming in from a late lunch. And I walked in the door. Sorry, I'm late, dude. And I acted like I was coming in to punch in. And it was funny.
Was Shirley still around back then?
I didn't see her that day. I think it was Rudy. Rudy was there that day.
Yeah.
And
I read when you talked about that becoming a restaurant bar a few weeks ago, I looked it up. You sent me a link. It was an interview with the brothers, and talked all about the artwork that they donated. But apparently Shirley had passed, so she must have been in her 90s, man, because it was, they were saying it was like recent. So yeah, I remember those guys. They, her and the old man are gone now, but man, that was a fun time. Now, another story real quick. So you remember Dave Parks was a kid who went to UCLA Film School.
Yes.
And he had a project where he needed for his school. He needed to direct his own movie. So long story short, we're on like Century City, Culver City. We're somewhere on the, heading toward the coast. And I got a small part in this. Johnny D's this guy.
I remember that.
Yeah, right. So and they needed like a Spicoli character, and that really wasn't me. So they got some dude to be a Spicoli, but I was the boyfriend of the girl. He's with some girl, and I'm showing up, and there's gonna be a problem. So I said to Dave, he goes, "Yeah, Mike, just drive into the driveway. We're in some neighborhood, but whoever was like in the movie, we were using their house." And he goes, "Yeah, just pull in the driveway and then step out of the car, and that's the scene, and then we'll do the vote, the dialogue or whatever." So okay, so all I got to do is pull in the driveway. I said, "Dave, I got an idea. It's Johnny's car, by the way." So it's Johnny's car. I go, "Dave, how about it was trashed in, and the trash truck had already come, so there's these empty trash cans on the street." And I go, how about I drive through those and they fly all over the place? And this is Johnny's car. He doesn't know, right? I just said it to Dave. He's the director, man. It's your film. He goes, "It's a great idea." I go, "Okay, cool." So he sets up the camera. Boom! I come through, like, dude, it was like trash cans go flying. I put the thing in park and I jump out, and it's like, all right, cut the scene. dude, ready for this? I don't know if I ever told you this. Maybe we did, but I mean, so long ago. I remembered it today, and I was like, I got to tell this story. One of the neighbors leans out his window, and dude, it's Johnny Diag's cousin from back home. His cousin Lenny. What are the chances? I'll tell you the chances. Johnny has a huge family. He's got about 1,000 aunts, uncles, and cousins. But still, there's millions, tens, hundreds of millions of people. And we didn't even know his cousin Lenny had moved to LA. We didn't even know. He leans out the window and he goes, "Hey, D'Agostino, shut the hell up." And I'm like, "Hey, Johnny, is that your cousin Lenny?" And he's like, "Lenny?" Dude, it was, what are the chances that even happened? Like, wow. That's bizarre. Shit like that happen all the time, bro.
Yeah. Do you have a copy of that movie?
You know what, dude? I actually might have somewhere in a shoebox. There might be like a VHS. I will look. He might have it'd be great to burn stuff on DVDs.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, I never showed up the next day for the dialogue because I jump out of the car and it's like, "Oh, you cut the scene." And now the next scene, I'm like screaming at Johnny, like something about he stole my girlfriend. And it didn't come out great. Like, for whatever reason, he wanted to redo the dialogue. So I got to come back and do a voiceover. I didn't show up. So they put a voice over me going blah, 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 blah. And with a Scottish accent. Dude is hysterical, right? I mean, so it's me, like, and meanwhile, it's not my voice. It's some other dude doing the voice. And yeah, dude, I mean, I don't know, dude. There's so many things that all these people.
What I want to hear the story, because this was a story that I told on my channel. Okay. About life, the band Life, Sex, and Death.
Oh, man. First of all, what a great band. What a great band. I mean, so I don't know. We'd heard of them. They were this like sensation. And they got, what was his name? The singer, Stanley. Right? So Stanley is, and look at, dude, I mean, I'm guessing this was like a thing that, I don't think he was really an insane homeless person, but that was the gimmick. The
stick.
That was, and because they're like a hair band, bass guitar and drums. They're like the section, and he's the guy. So, and they're like, woo, they got Charbels with pointy headstarts and hair. Except he is not that. He is a homeless looking dude with a great voice, and he played keyboards or something. Dude, he's. What was it? What's the one in the corner? The whiskey. So we're waiting outside or something, and because we hear about this band, we got to go check him out. And, he's sitting against the wall, and somebody goes like, "Hey, that's the singer of this band." And I'm like, "Really?" I go, "Dude, he smelled like a dumpster. Like, it was like he must have. If this is which I'm sure it was, just the whole routine." He must have took his clothes and just put them in a dumpster, whatever. And he would probably just put that outfit on. And his hair was crazy and he looked like, he looked insane. But you can always do your hair crazy and look insane. And then when you get home, comb your hair and take put those crazy clothes in a bag in a closet somewhere so the whole place doesn't smell like a urinal. But that's what he smelled like, bro. And it was like, you got within about 5 feet and it was like, what the? And dude, the show starts, we go in, he is the lead singer, because I was like, this ain't the singer. And he comes out and it was just, that was awesome, dude. I was just, it was so unlikely that like this guy is like a musical, I don't know, like he could sing like anything, and he could play, but it was so, I mean, you got a rock band and then you got this homeless looking insane guy as a lead singer. That was pretty wild, dude. I mean,
it was ingenious. And you told me about it. And the last thing that I wanted to hear was, "Oh man, you got to go see this new band." Cause I'm like, well, I'm trying to do the thing, but coming up with that concept,
dude, it was ingenious. Like you said.
Yeah. And here's the deal. You can go watch online
Yeah.
that band before Stanley became the homeless guy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's got teased out hair, and he's doing
Okay.
the snake dance, and he
Yeah.
looks like he's got an armadillo stuffed in his trousers, and the whole thing. And you go, okay, but you notice, okay, he can sing good. He's had some similar movements. He was doing
Right.
the
Oh, yeah. He was
similar,
all herky jerky. Yeah.
same kind of movements, but you go, probably not good looking enough to carry it as a full on glam thing.
Right.
And coming up with that gimmick is
What a great gimmick.
it skyrocketed them super fast. I mean, they hit the strip and they were signed within a couple of months.
Dude, it was wild. I mean, like, because who would think of it? And listen, dude, he wasn't playing games. And when I say, like, you got near this cat, you were like, oh, baby, somebody got to open a window. Because it was, he was playing that role. It's so convincing because there are interviews on YouTube when he's sitting there with the band and he's Stanley, right? And he looks nuts. And he's just, they're like, hey, Stanley, they're kind of directing the interview. And he's just, and dude, it seemed real. I mean, they really pulled it off. Like you said, maybe he just didn't have the look or the great, but he could sing and and once you get that gimmick, dude, I mean, I don't know whatever happened. There were Life, Sex, and Death, LSD. Yeah, Life, Sex, and Death. And it was amazing. They had really cool tunes, and it just wasn't what you were thinking was going to happen.
But I think the hard thing was getting the amazing live performance to translate to record. You know what I mean?
That's the trick, I guess. I mean, dude, it was like, I know, like you said, they got signed, but this is around 1990, 91, and then then that whole thing was, I don't know whatever happened to them.
Well, and here's the thing: it worked. They still got signed, even though grunge was on the way, and essentially Stanley was about as grunge as you could possibly be. Here's the difference: as grunge was starting to come in, grunge bands still had long hair. They still had distorted guitars. They just all of a sudden let the hair go straight. Yeah. And they wear shorts instead of spandex, and they wear military boots and a flannel shirt, or whatever. Yeah. So, I mean, it was all sort of a transition stylistically. And a natural one, because even Poison, if you look at how they looked when they first came out and how they looked towards the end of the run, there's no way you can maintain that glam thing, for a long period of time, because you start getting old. It starts looking ridiculous.
It does. And that's the thing. I mean, you got bands like Cinderella. All right, they were like a 70s band, dude. They weren't like, I mean, they did the whole poofy hair thing up, but if you listen to their music, you go, this isn't really glam. But hey, it was what worked at the time. So you went from looking like Aerosmith, and then you went to looking like, David Bowie with the, with the glammy makeup and all kinds of stuff. And not that Bowie was ahead of his time. He was doing that in the 70s. He was already doing something cooler in the 80s. So and I mean, yeah, bro, that's that's like I said, when I first night there, we get to the strip and it's Tough and Brunette. And we go into Gazzari's or whatever it was, and it was like, wow, this is it's glammy. I wasn't really into the glam thing, but it was like, okay, this is what's cool. And then the next, dude, besides the fact that like the next thing you know, it's 5 years later, and so this isn't gonna be a party for the rest of my life, because I thought that's what this was going to be, but
that was the thing. It changed. And when you imagine going to Tough and Brunette, I can imagine that show being full of women,
dude,
wall to wall, teased up hair, spandex dresses, thong underwear. You could tell that they were wearing a thong. It was the 80s. They all, I mean, and you literally, and you were from a city, so
Yeah.
you'd been around a little bit, but you get out
You
to
know,
LA and you go, holy
it's
crap.
a it's a different world, bro. I mean, I was from, like I said, just, you walk for half an hour out of from the Boston Garden, you get to my house. You know what I mean? So I'm like a few miles, not in Boston, but the next town over. So yeah, it's the city, but dude, nothing could have prepared me for dude. You get off the plane, and it's every movie or TV show you ever saw. It's beautiful, and guess what, bro? 2-1, 2-1 women to men.
Is that what it was?
It's what it seemed like. I mean, dude, it's like like Jan and Dean, Surf City. Two girls for
Dude,
every bro. That's what it was.
It felt like about 9-1.
Exactly. I mean, dude. So we get, get into the club, and it's like, wow, man, dude. Look at. I mean, I was 20. So it wasn't like I never met any girls or women before, but not like that. Like literally, like, hey, dude. So it was like a week later or so. We're walking the strip looking for jobs, and I ended up with a job at the liquor store, whatever. We're standing. It's the Playboy building. Remember the Playboy building on Sunset? We're standing there, and so who comes walking out? And she was like the hot thing of the time. I don't know what she looks like now. Jessica Hahn,
Yeah.
And she was like. And she was in Playboy that month or something. And so, like, she's like, hey, boys. And we're like, hey, how you doing? Like, what's going on? Like, all of a sudden, like, we're in this fantasy land where there's, and dude, like, it wasn't like you had to really go hard there were, if you're young and I was in good shape and, a good looking guy, whatever. Women came up to me, which was great for me because I was, kind of shy and introverted, which is why that whole persona with P-Funk and my sense of humor, that's like a defensive mechanism from being like a shy dude who was kind of quiet,
Yeah.
That didn't, you know what I mean? That was just like, boom. And that was wild, dude. I mean, it's nothing like that. It was a rare time. I mean, because it ain't like that now, dude. Party's over, bro.
Yeah.
Last guy turned out the lights,
Yeah, it's weird how it could be such a huge scene, and rock and roll was the dominant force in music.
Yeah.
And look, man, I hear a lot of people, the grunge defenders will say, "Oh, well, it was poison and it needed to end and all this." But I think, man, just the other day, I was pulled up the band Giant. I don't know if you remember Giant.
I remember the name, but I can't quite remember, the details.
So Dan Huff was the guitar player and the singer of the band.
Okay, yeah.
He ended up becoming a huge producer in Nashville, right?
Right, session guy or whatever, yeah.
But Giant was considered a hair band. And dude, the guitar work on that stuff is just absolutely insane. He's singing like an unbelievable like level, and the songwriting is just like next level, like genius, right? Yeah. So for people to go, oh, it was poison and all that. No, it wasn't just the glam bands that got put in the toilet. It was anybody with any real talent to some degree, because there were band like Giant. Dan Huff had to basically move to Nashville. Why? And here's the deal. Dan Huff ended up playing on Michael Jackson records and all of this studio stuff because he could play like Lukather. He's actually, now that I listen to what he was playing, I go, man, he may have been better than Steve Lukather. It's crazy, dude. And to think that when they rolled up LA and said, it's all over, he had to go and produce country records, which he had tremendous success with. But the stuff that he produced was nowhere near the level of his own band and the talent level of the music that he was putting out then.
look at since then. I mean, this is 35 years ago. So I've been back. Dude, I came home and within a year I had a job with the phone company that I rode for 30 years, bro. So it's a long time ago. But now I have this like hobby where I like to check out. That's how I know who Dan Huff is. I love these like session cats and all these stories. That's a lot of the music, it was all these Lukather and all these the West Coast guys back in the day. The Wrecking Crew and all that stuff. I love that stuff. And there's a lot of cool stories with those guys too. I mean, a lot of them. And I mean, that's dude. It's a weird thing. Like you only can know what you know. When I come out to LA, I mean, I'm like, dude, literally, it was like, hey, you want to go to LA? Yeah, sure, let's go check it out. And I'm there for 5 years, and I mean, dude, what could I expect? I could not have expected to be like, first of all, meet all these great players and just and literally have women throwing themselves at you. It was fantasy land. Like, how am I supposed to relate to that? And then, things change and then I don't know, the music thing. Bro, I stopped listening to radio around then because I was getting into a lot of the fusion stuff and I had a little bit of experience with that, but you kind of turned me on to some Schofield and cats like that and P-Funk.
Yeah.
That's where the nickname came from. Yeah. Because we were listening to all this.
We were listening to P-Funk a lot.
We went and saw the P-Funk All-Stars one night. Where was that? Was that in Hollywood?
It may have been.
It was George Clinton. That's how they billed it.
Yeah.
The diaper guy.
Yeah.
It was like the dude walked around with the sign and the diaper.
Yeah.
And
that was at the Palace. I think it was at the Palace.
That's what I thought because I go back and forth with Johnny D, and he's like, "Nah, that was a place down in by the coast." And I'm like, "No, this is in Hollywood."
We did. We also went. I went. I know one time to see Bootsy.
Oh, that's probably what he was thinking of.
And Bootsy was down at the place. Literally played for about 40 or 50 people in some club down by the beach.
That's probably what he was thinking, dude. Because this was the coolest live gig. It was P-Funk. This has got to be like 1989 or 90 because here's how I know the timeline. We go there, and dude, you come back. You go, hey, dude, NWA is at the bar, and I'm like, really? And Herbie Hancock.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. It was a total LA crowd. I mean, like it was P-Funk. It was black, white, Asian, Mexican. It was a mix of people, and it was. Like we weren't on any, energy drinks or accelerants or anything. We were just having a couple people and just having a blast. And that was so happening. And later that year or whenever it was, because I remember in 1990, it was the Palace Theater. It was a local place. We were there. I don't remember what was going on, but we're there one night. And that's how I met the girl. Door opens up. Boom. It's like one of those lightning bolt things. She looks at me. I look at it like, she comes right up to me. And I was like, she's like, what are you smiling at? And I'm like, I'm smiling at you. And next thing, I'm with her for like a year and a half. And it was like dude, how does shit like that happen? It's like a woman too. I'm like 21, 22 years old, I guess. And it's like, you're meeting these. I mean, again, dude, I'm like 5 years removed from like high school or whatever. You know what I mean? And and next thing you know, it's on, and you got all these. Let's face it, dude. You're in Hollywood. It's women from all around the world. She happened to be a local, but all around the world, gorgeous women. They all think they're going to be the next starlet or whatever. And dudes like us who just go out. I mean, you at least had a plan, man. You went to school and had like a. I was just like, yeah, dude. Let's get a one-way ticket in cash to go. Let's see what happens. Well, shit happens, man.
Yeah.
So, it was wild, dude. It was. I mean, there's so many other. Again, I want to try to keep it, PG or whatever. But yeah, there was wild times, man. I mean,
kids today wouldn't understand like what they're missing out on in life because here's the deal. All we would have to do is go. I will walk across the hall. Go, dude, let's go do something. Let's go out. And
the door was always unlocked.
And I would always figure out like, okay, it's Monday. We can go to the Orr House.
Oh yeah, there was always like, hey, we got $5 each. Let's go to the all you can eat or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we would go to, a place, and nowadays people sit at home and they swipe on their thing or whatever. And here's the deal now. They say that 80% of the women in the world, they find only 20% of the men are dateable.
It's a weird thing, dude. I don't even relate to that. That. All right, so you said the Ore House. Is that the place we used to go and do like karaoke and stuff?
No, no, no. That the karaoke place was down on Melrose. And I
Oh,
don't
okay.
know, if you ever went to the Ore House, but yeah, we used to go to that karaoke place.
Yeah, I remember the Ore. I remember the name. Yeah.
And we used to just go. We go to Bordner's.
Oh, Bordner's, dude.
Bordner's, and maybe we went to the Frolic Room once or twice.
Yep. Yeah, I did. The Frolic Room was in the movie. What was it? Like James Caan, and it was like Alien Nation. Okay, so that was like 1980. It came out, I think, the summer we were there. So Alienate the Frolic Room, right? The guy upstairs from our apartment, that crappy little studio on Hollywood, he was like the manager of the Frolic Room.
Wow.
So like, hey, isn't that the movie and the bar in the movie? So we go down there, dude. That was, I mean, dude, we used to, purchase things from the bartender there.
Oh yeah, yeah. There was all kinds of shady stuff going on, but thinking back of going out and being open to anything happening, meeting somebody, or you could end up at a party. There would be times, I think one time we ended up at, do you remember the one time we had some pizza toppings, and somebody had said there's a party down further down Hollywood. I think it was me, you, and Johnny, and we ate some pizza toppings, and we were pretty tore up, and we started walking. We just started walking, like thinking we could find this party, and of course we never found the party.
Dude,
and then we ended up on a city bus, which I had never really taken a city bus, and the horrors that I saw on that bus, I was like, I will never take another bus in my life.
I avoid it at all costs, man. Walk, hitchhike, but don't get on the bus, bro. Don't get off the boat, but don't get on the bus.
Don't get on the bus. Never get off the boat, but do not get on the bus. Here's the thing, man. And here's the other thing with these women. You could get pulled into situations. You could find out that they're an adult film actress, or they're married, or their boyfriend. They live with their ex-boyfriend, or it was never simple. But it did seem like, dude, there were so many women that it just got to the point where, she eats crackers in bed, so I'm going to literally get on the phone and call someone else and tell them that I've got this girl here and she's literally eating crackers in my bed. Can you come over? Can you come over? Yes, I'll be right over. And it was like, you out. I mean, it sounds awful.
Dude, I didn't even have a car. I lost my license. I was there about 4 months because I had this under the table job, and I'm driving this unregistered car. Next thing you know, my license is gone. That didn't stop me from driving, but dude, Bordner's. I meet a girl there one night. That's how we got the apartment on Western Ave, which was a bad neighborhood. There was a awesome building. So that was after Lanewood, and I guess the Shock House was in between or something. No, that was the place. We had a rooftop patio, dude. You could see the downtown and the hills, except, there were gangs living in the building, and it was a bad neighborhood. Yeah. So we broke that lease. and went to the Shock House for a couple of weeks. Then I moved in with a different girl.
Yeah.
I met some girl who lived in that apartment, and went to her house one night because I met her at Borders, and which was an awesome place because you walked in, and then when you went past the bar, there was like this open courtyard. It was like European or something. It was like an open courtyard, which now you're outside, but you're inside. It was wild. That was wild. Man.
And that apartment that you lived in on Western, that was across the street from this billiard hall.
Oh, yeah.
And that billiard hall was actually a place that had rehearsal rooms / living quarters for like band dudes, and with like a hallway bathroom. So if you can imagine the horrors of that.
I can't. We knew a dude there. We used to go. He was a local purveyor of plants and other such garden greens, but we'd have to go in there and see him. And it was just the seediest place. Dude, if I woke up one day and they had taken a wrecking ball and knocked that place down, I wouldn't have been surprised. It was a dump. And yeah, that was a wild place. I have no idea what it was. Like you said, it was a billiard hall downstairs, but then upstairs, rehearsal spaces. And just like it had like a film on it, you know what I mean? The place was just a hole. Yeah. And there was also a taco place across the street where you could get, God only knows what they put in that taco, but it was a buck. Yeah.
Man, that whole billiard hall, I remember going to an audition. Like answered it before Shock before Shock. Okay, I answered an ad, and they tell me, we'll come down to this. Here's the address. And I go in there. And I go upstairs to one of the rooms, and there's like bunk beds, in these things. And this guy has this cassette, and he kind of puts it in. And I just kind of looked at, this is where we rehearse and all that. And I was like, I don't know what the conversation was, but I'm like, I couldn't get out of there fast enough.
It was probably something like this. Hey, I think I left my toaster on. I'll be right back. Adios, brother.
Dude.
Get out of Dodge.
It's crazy. Now, I want to talk about, I often talk about on my channel being on the road, and I got to a point where I was watching Apocalypse Now on a loop.
Right.
I'm on the road, and every night after the show, Apocalypse Now's going on, and we're back on the boat, and we're traveling downriver, and we're trying to find Kurtz, and it became this kind of like, I felt like I was living in the movie. And I think I think at that time, I think you had kind of focused on the movie Taxi Driver.
Both of those flicks were like, dude, I watched both of those movies so many times. Yeah, Taxi Driver was, I don't know, they're kind of classic tunes, classic movies, but they're definitely, a little out there. But yeah, dude, the like I said, The Heart of Darkness, dude, I must have watched that movie, Apocalypse Now. And dude, Don't Get Off the Boat, the whole thing, like it's all, Miss America shows up, they have the whole thing, and it's like, man, this is like and it is a psychedelic trip on that, because what's his name, Lance Johnson, the surfer, he's actually doing some,
and I feel like, because we're talking about girls and having a good time and all of that stuff, but the dark undercurrent of living in LA and the stuff that we're seeing, so we're driving, and I probably quite a few times me and you would be in the truck, and we'd be driving down from Lanewood down to the pawn shop, and we'd cross I think on Orange. We'd go down Orange, and we'd get to Santa Monica before we'd get to Melrose. And you'd see desperate young men strung out, looking, at every car, looking for a date and a way to keep the party going.
Dude,
and some of that really, I mean, it's sad, man, to see that. And because a lot, I know a kid when I was coming up in high school who ended up being one of those kids on
Oh
the
man,
street
really,
corner,
dude?
and he
Oh,
ended up dying. He ended up dying. And
not
so,
surprisingly. Yeah.
unsurprisingly, so I think seeing all that, seeing having several times the police, weapons drawn on you, dealing with crazy girlfriends and the madness, and then of course we're partying ourselves and going through all that. Did it feel like at some point, like a movie, it's time to escape from LA?
Escape from Alcatraz, dude. It's well, I think what happened was like the foreshadowing of it was, once that riot happened, like the whole vibe was just not as cool. I was there for about a year after that, a little over a year, and that was like, dude, I'm out of here. And you were gone like months later.
Yeah.
Beginning of '94, I was gone at the end of '93. Yeah, dude. I mean, because you just never know. Like, you don't know what you're getting into, and then it turns out to be this nonstop party. But the party ends, dude. That second pawn shop I worked in, there were a lot of dudes, like people that would come in that the Brothers Collateral was a step up from that place, because that place, Johnny Billings worked there with me too, so he would know. There were characters, and it was, dude. I don't talk about this. Seen a lot of weird shit in my life. A guy almost got killed across the street from that pawn shop during the workday. There was a park across the street, and there was all kinds of crazies that were hanging out there. And I don't want to get into the details because it was awful, but that dude barely lived. He got attacked by another homeless guy that day, and paramedics showed up and saved his life because that was hairy. That was another one where, like, hey man, maybe I got it. That and the time that a couple of guys came in the pawn shop and tried to reach over the counter and grab something, and my boss pulled out a pew pew on them, and nothing happened. Nobody, panicked, but it was like, if you don't get out of here now, bad stuff's going to happen to you. And the guys I don't know if they were trying to rob the joint or what, but that kind of stuff doesn't have to happen too much until you go, all right, maybe it's the party's over. And that sucked, because there was still, opportunities for, I mean, hey, listen, the sun comes out tomorrow. It's still California. There's still all these women, and there were always these girlfriends and whatever. But yeah, at some point it was like, this ain't gonna. You thought it was gonna be, hey man, I'm gonna live here till the rest of my life, but no, it didn't turn out that way.
Yeah, I think I felt the same way, man. I felt like, man, I'll never leave here. Why would I ever leave this? This is like the greatest thing in the world. But then you start seeing that it's a facade.
It is, and
it's not real.
Well, and that's sort of like just what pop culture really is. It's not, man, dude, it's a movie, it's a TV show, it's an image. But when you really, see it, you go, you know what? Maybe this is just celluloid heroes, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, it ain't real.
It's like, I don't know if you remember one time we would go out to just Ralph's. We'd go get a 6-pack at Ralph's, and we'd meet some girl. We'd meet some girl, and they'd come back to the place. And I remember there was one girl we brought back to the house, and she had been on QVC.
Oh, yeah, dude. She had her tape.
So she pulls out her tape from QVC, and we're watching this girl, and she's like on QVC in her, bikini or whatever she's modeling or whatever on there. But while she's like showing us her reel, her performance reel, she's scrounging through her purse, trying to find a crumb, trying to find a remnant of her former self. And you're just going, man, people out here are spun, dude.
I mean, she's tweaked out. I mean, dude, look, like we dabbled and we never really got into anything crazy or heavy. Yeah, we were just to drink a few beer, white can with the blue said beer on it. We were drinking a few beers, having a little fun. Every now and then, hey man, I mean, I see this commercial now for like, I don't know, it's like, oh, I can sell my clothing online, yeah, I can sell my boots. And I see, and I'm like, dude, the only people I knew who did that back in the day, hey, bro, there wasn't any furniture left after a while, and they weren't, yeah, they were selling their stuff because they were just gone. And so I don't know. I do remember going, and this may have involved pizza toppings to Ralph's. Oh, and by the way, I think Rock and Roll Denny's is long gone.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's gone, man, because that was down just past like the around the area of the Guitar Center. And Ralph's was like just before that. Dude, went into Ralph's, I think it was me and Johnny D, and we went in to get some beer because we were going to be up a while from, eating pizza and some toppings. And dude, I'm energized. I'm flying high again. And dude, and standing in front of me in the line is Paul Stanley from Kiss. And I'm like, I was never in the Kiss Army or anything, but I thought they were cool. And I wanted to say like, hey, dude, what's happening? But I was like, I can't even talk to anybody. I'm in Ralph's and I'm like, woo, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And next thing you know, Paul Stanley standing in front of me buying like a loaf of bread. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't even say hi because I was out of my mind, dude.
Yeah. That was the thing, man. You could just go to the grocery store, Rock and Roll Ralph's, and you'd see Paul Stanley or some guy from LA Guns or Graham Bonnet or, anybody just in there. It was bizarre, man. And then you saw tons of guys like you and me, then you'd see the, we call it the gypsy, the gypsy rock and roller, the Johnny Thunder lookalikes. Remember those guys?
Yeah, sure.
You'd see those guys, and they used to buy that Lucky Lager. I don't know if you ever. We never drank that piss, but it was like $1. I don't know. It was like $3 for like a whole like tray of it or some ridiculous stuff. And so you'd always see the gypsy junkie rocker types going in there and getting their Lucky Lager. It was. Here's the thing, man. When I go out now. And it doesn't matter where. Back then, if you were out in California, if you went out, you saw somebody that was either a rock star or looked like a rock star. Now, when I go out, it doesn't matter where I go. I don't see anybody that looks like a rock star, and I don't see anybody that is a rock star.
Dude, I mean, we lived in a time, you know what I mean? And that time has changed, and it was just a different world, bro. It's a good thing there weren't cameras everywhere. We'd been arrested. But talk about like, now I'm there a few months. I don't know, maybe it's the beginning of 89, end of 88. So it's me and the guys. We're still living on Hollywood in that studio. We come around the corner one day, and there's this Ferrari sitting there with a hottie in the passenger seat, and some dude, he's helping out some girl who broke down right in front of our apartment. And it's Steve Vai. And it was, he was like right at the time, he's doing the David Lee Roth thing. And so we come around the corner and we're like, hey, you guys need a hand? And we push this car. The girl is broken down, but it's like a Volkswagen. So she's just got to pop the clutch and it'll, we can bump start it. So we do that. We push it. And, off she goes, and we're talking to Steve Vai. It was like what? Like this ain't happening in Boston, bro. You know what I mean? You ain't bumping into Steve Vai or whoever walking at Daddy's Junkie or whatever. I mean, it was a slice of life, bro. Like I said, it was a real kaleidoscope.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is like now. I think a lot of people that were there, we called them, I would call them now, I call them strip miners. They were mining for gold on the Sunset Strip, right? And some of them hit gold and some of them hit pay dirt.
Yeah.
But the ones that hit gold, once they launched off, they might come back to go to the Rainbow when they're back from tour or whatever. If you're Lemmy, you still were there all the time because that was your home, your second home. But most of them took liftoff, and they were never really ever to be seen again.
I mean, hey, if you didn't have to, bro, Lemmy and John Entwistle, that was like, that was the rock and roll version of Norm and Cliff on Cheers. They were a fixture at that. But you walked in, there's Lemmy, there's John Entwistle, the two bass players, and they're sitting there, and it's like, but I mean, what else were we gonna do? I mean, we're out to have a good time and blah blah. But man, if I had like money and like real success, I don't know how much I'd hang around there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, let me live, but I'm behind the dumpster out back or whatever.
Yeah. It was almost and they say Lemmy, lived right around the corner so he could stumble back and forth. And there's a famous clip where Dave Grohl goes over to his apartment and does the dishes because it's just a filthy mess,
I mean, sometimes you just took the dishes out of the sink and threw them away. Like, these are nasty. They're all stuck together. Let's just get new dishes, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. Back in those days, man, we, in Lanewood, we had a dishwasher, so the dishes got done. But at the Shock House, the dishes never got done. They sat there for months. And there was never any food in the fridge, never one, not even a loaf of bread, nothing.
Why would you? You know what I mean? It was like, you know what I mean?
And the beer would only last as long as the party, and then then that would be gone as well.
I mean, there was furniture. There was a couch. I don't know if there was a TV. Maybe there was. I mean, how much did you sit around on the couch back then? We were too busy.
And the door was always open.
Dude, I mean,
it was always open, and people would just show up.
That's why I lasted 2 weeks. I was like, you know what, man, I gotta,
I remember at one point coming in like at like noon, and there were like 3 or 4 Catholic schoolgirls who just came in, and they knew Greg, and they're like, yeah, we're ditching school, okay, cool, and they just hung out and talked amongst themselves, and then went home, whatever. It was no party, there was nothing illicit going on, but it just became like a place where people would just go for respite.
That was Greg, man. I mean, Greg was, I haven't seen Greg. He came to town back in around 2001 or 2000, and he was with Roger. They were playing with some girl, I forget. They were on a tour bus. And we ended up hanging out one night. They played at the Paradise Theater in Boston. And he missed the bus. Like, I had to, like, I don't know. We ended up hanging out. It was like a lost weekend. And he needed to catch a plane to the next show because he missed the bus.
Wow.
And, I mean, dude, that's the last time I saw Greg. But he called me up before. Yeah, he was like, hey, bro, it's like, hey, can you get us any party supplies? And I was like, yeah, I can make some phone calls. And that was a lost weekend, bro. I mean, that's the last time I saw him. That's what Greg was a gypsy like that,
Well, that's a funny thing you mentioned that, and we'll probably wrap up with this, but being a touring musician, and then you go to some place where your buddies are at, or your friends are at, or your girlfriend's at, or whatever. And I've had people do that to me. They come to Nashville and go, hey, man, can you hook me up? The last time that happened was about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I had a guy that I knew from high school who literally, this is the message he sent me on Facebook. He said,
oh, good.
He says, hey, asshole, my friends are coming to town. Hook them up with some beak food. I'm like, first of all, starting off with "Hey asshole,"
That's, you know,
that's not going to get you jack shit. And
yeah.
second of all, I don't fucking party anymore, and it's not going to happen.
Dude, like I said, this is 20 years, 24 years. You know what I mean? This is like
Yeah.
01 or 2000. It's like so long that I was not opposed to do. I didn't do that sort of thing, but did I know something? Like, yeah, because I had a guy that was like I said, he was a independent salesman of garden greens. But did he have other products available?
Other avenues.
Yeah, so you go to his house at 3:00 in the morning. Greg shows up on a Friday night. Their next show is in New York or whatever on Sunday. So he's got So it's like it's a lost weekend, Friday night, all day Saturday, and I don't. He called me from Logan Airport, and he's like, "Dude, I left my jacket at your house," and he had this leather jacket, and maybe there was something in the pocket.
Oh.
And, this is before 9/11, so I just show up at the airport and I'm like, you think I'm gonna do that now, bro? No, Holmes, not happening. But back then, hey, there might have been. I left my jacket at your house, and we were like, it was a blizzard of 2001 or whatever, and so I showed up at the airport and was like, hey, good to see you again, and that's the last time I saw him.
Wow. Well, man. This has been an epic 2-hour extravaganza with the man himself, the legend, Mike P. Funk Strong.
This is what we do.
This is what we do. And we left a lot on the table. We didn't show all of our cards.
No,
we still got days and days, bro, of better days and righteous lays, bro.
There's a few stories that we,
there's a few dozen that we haven't touched upon, but we're gonna cut it now. Say thank you so much, Mike, for coming on the channel. I know everybody's gonna really enjoy this interview, and perhaps you'll be starting your own channel one of these days.
Yeah, I thought about that. We'll see. I mean, that is a thought, but but we should do this again. Like I said, if you want to just, we'll do Mike, we do a 5-minute story, and we'll make it a 2-minute, one of your shorts or something. I don't know, or you know what, dude, another hour, and we tell another few gems because they're out there, man.
Yeah. Or we'll do a commentary. We could do a commentary on current events. Who knows?
I got a lot, man.
All right. Well, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, P-Funk, and I will see you again, brother.
Thanks, Brad. I'll talk to you. See all the bad Brad.
Take care, brother.
All right, bro. Later.